13.
13. Lucky 13. Oh, hey, we're live. All right, let's hit it. Guess what? We've got an even more special show than we normally have. A couple weeks ago, we had one of two members of the Super Bowl 50 team still in the NFL playing games. And you probably guessed who our special guest is going to join us right now, because Chris Harris Jr. and I bring you Football Fridays. Here we go. We teased it, and there he is, 13 years in the NFL and still kicking the crap out of the football, most of the time through the upright, better than any of us could do. Brandon McManus, Super Bowl 50 champion, one of the two teammates, Chris, that missed you at the reunion and the DT celebration weekend as he went in the Ring of Fame. So I'll let y'all catch up. And B-Mac, I guess you can start with what was the thing you missed the most about not being there?
Yeah, obviously the chance to catch up with the guys, the camaraderie. That was such a special team. The relationships that we had off the field, getting together during the week, just the plane rides home were a blast. And it was such a tight-knit group with how we won games that season, with the defense, special teams, and it took all three phases to win. And so, while it would have been great to be there, it's also cool to still be playing football, this late in my career. And but at one point again, I'll look to celebrate with these guys at the next one.
Yeah, I don't know when the next celebration is. It 20 years or we can't wait that long,
Of course, for us to get together, I agree.
Yeah, I miss you, dog. But like B-Mac said, it's definitely a tight knit group. Everybody all hung. B-Mac was pretty much an honorary member of the defense of the no fly, so we pretty much add B to the team. But how do you feel like y'all are at this time in the season? Y'all having a up and down. Not playing in the best football that y'all are capable of with the talent that y'all have. How do y'all feel y'all are at the season, B-Mac?
Yeah, I'd say this season across the NFL has been more unpredictable than usual, and I don't know whether it's there's not superstar teams that are like there used to be in the league that are more dominant than the others. So I think the league has kind of been a little more spread out, and we had tough losses at Cleveland and at home against Carolina, and Carolina has done some good things now since, but. That's the key thing. Like I was just saying about how special that team was, is that we were very complimentary of each other. The times when our defense has played well, we haven't been getting the ball in the end zone or getting opportunities to score, and vice versa. Similar. We had that shootout in Dallas, which ended up being in a tie. For most of the part of the season, the defense has played phenomenally, but that was the time where the complimentary just didn't flow necessarily the way we wanted to. So, we are where we are right now, 9-3-1. Definitely on the good side of it right now, but just have to continue to play our best ball as you go down the stretch here.
Well, right. And Chris, you brought up how talented their rosters or what they can be. The two players I want to ask you about are the two that probably get talked about the most, and that's of course your quarterback Jordan Love. You've played with some good young quarterbacks, Trevor Lawrence probably being at the top of the list in terms of early in his career. And then to make that trade for Micah Parsons, I know you guys loved Kenny Clark, but to get a game changer like that, a closer that will be so important, having won a Super Bowl with Vaughn and D-Ware, but a guy that on 3rd and 8 is going to go get it. And we saw that in the Arizona game where he basically single-handedly won it. What's it like playing with both those guys, knowing you've got a quarterback playing the way Jordan's playing and obviously what Micah's capable of?
Yeah, obviously both young superstars in this league, and I had a chance to play with some older superstars on the back part of the career. Then now with the younger guys, and the cool thing about Micah, just the effort that he plays with. He wants to be on the field at all times, which is a compliment to him and his conditioning and just his effort that he goes out there and plays with. And then Jordan, just the command that he has of the offense, and I guess the reliability that Matt LaFleur has in him, that we went for it on 4th down a bunch against the Lions in that Thanksgiving Day game, and had a chance to I think all the 4th down plays were touchdowns, and a lot of them were deep passes. So just the faith that we have in him, and the way that he could throw the ball over the field, and then obviously with Micah, just what he's able to bring to the defense. He faces a lot of double and triple teams, which helps the other guys.
Am I here?
We lost your audio there, B.
B, you went on mute.
He's fixing it now. We're getting short on time. No, I can't hear you. We may end up with him just waving at us. If
I was gonna ask him, what's the difference in the kicking in Lambeau Field compared to the Mile High,
especially as cold as it is, and you go down to Florida where it's obviously can be a little wet and dense, but the air, but you're at sea level. So he wants to know, Chris, you can ask him the question here real quick, and then it kind of relates to coming back home.
Yep.
I was going to ask you, what's the difference in the climates and like the stadiums and kicking? Is there a big difference in kicking in Lambeau Field than kicking in the Mile High or in Jacksonville?
Yeah, of course. When it's freezing cold out, that leather in the ball, deflates, and it doesn't go near as far. But it has a lot to do with temperature. People always said about the altitude. It's a great, obviously, to kick up there. But I've always said you still have to kick it straight between the yellow posts. That's the only thing that matters. It doesn't matter how high up the net you hit it or just over the bar. The 3 points is what the team is counting on. So that was always been my argument is that, yeah. And I was always considered a big leg guy, so I didn't necessarily need the altitude to help with that. But weather definitely has a big factor in kicking. I'd say the most compared to altitude. Just if it's windy, if it's cold, I'm getting a little nerdy here, but the science and pressure, when it's hot out, the air molecules bounce around faster in physics. If it's cold, the air molecules are slow, so they don't have a chance to jump as far off your foot that you want to.
All right, final thing, because we know you got to go. You got to get in the hot tub and get to practice. And we did give our predictions with Vaughn, so you can predict who's going to win the game. But just what's it going to mean for you to come back to Empower Field at Mile High and be on the other sideline and know the reception you'll get when your name's called, if and when your name's called, or they point you out there on the scoreboard?
Yeah, no, had an incredible 9 years there. I think the fan base is one of the best in the league. It's, to me, one of the greatest stadiums in the league. Now I play at Lambeau, which is I guess the penultimate, but I'd say Empower Field is number 2. And I'm excited to see what the Walton Penner Group does with the new stadium, with highlighting the mountains that you'll be able to see and stuff. But the way that the Broncos are playing really well right now, the crowd has really gotten involved more. I think they've done a great job with creating a home field advantage that we had back 10 years ago. And as I said, looking forward to going out there and seeing a lot of the support staff who helped me get to me where I was, and it was a great support time when I was there, and just looking forward to a great game.
All right, B, we'll let you get to practice. Chris, you want to send them off?
No, man. Thank you, bro. Good luck, man. Keep kicking, bro. Keep balling and try to get 20 years, bro. Try to go break the record, man.
I appreciate it. Brandon, one quick thing. One of my favorite things is after the games when we would fly home, I would sit right next to Chris and Akib, and the way that they would break the game down. I don't know if there was 2 smarter players in the league just breaking defenses and offenses down. It was incredible to listen to them, and I learned a lot from them.
Well, B-Mac, I always love seeing you at league events or whatever it may be, and I'll try to find you before or after the game because you were such a big part of what went on around here, and we're going to talk about it a little more because you got to run, but how you were not treated the way other kickers are often treated in terms of your inclusion with the team, whether it was the defense and getting to hang at Club 58 or the stuff you got to do with Peyton and all that. It was really fun to see and get kind of a front row seat. So have fun at practice, and we'll see you Sunday. Safe travels over here.
Thanks, guys. Appreciate
Yes,
it.
sir. Later, bro.
Hey, so Chris, check this out. We were just so short on time with BMAC, but we've got something that we're doing here leading up to the holidays. So the store Sports Fan. There's the one right by the stadium. Obviously, they've got 2 on the 16th Street Mall, 1 at Park Meadows. So Sports Fan has this great holiday sale going, and so jerseys for $100, Broncos excluded, Avs and Nuggets excluded. No surprise there. And up to 80% on a number of items. But check this out, because they always have these cool exclusives. And next week, I'll see if I can get They've got a couple different Christmas hats that only Sports Fan makes. So red and green Broncos hat with the old D and a Santa hat. Then they also have it in white. But check this out. So it comes in a collector's box.
That's nice.
And you'll appreciate this. Limited edition Super Bowl 50 hat that only Sports Fan makes. So for the 10-year anniversary, they've got both a fitted hat, and there's only 150 of those that were made. And then the snapback, they obviously have a few more of those.
Gold snapback in the back. Is that gold in the back?
It's got gold around and then gold underneath on the inside of the hat. But yeah, and then gold on the NFL logo. And so it comes in the cool commemorative box as well as a commemorative pin for Super Bowl 50 and the 10-year anniversary. So piggybacking on what we started with. So I'll make sure that this one either finds its way to you or we get one or two more, because I'm sure once Ryan sees it, he's gonna. I think once the whole team sees it, they're gonna want it. But the only place you can get it is at Sports Fan. So hit either of their locations on the 16th Street Mall, or of course you can go right to the one off Federal behind Empower Field at Mile High or Park Meadows. Always easy to get to. Just don't waste too much time, because one, the hats are limited edition, and two, it's just going to get crazier the closer that we get to Christmas. But they've got all these fun exclusive, not only the Christmas hats, but other ones that are specific to Sports Fan. And so, I've been a friend of Derek, who owns it for a long time, but I've been shopping there since well before I knew Derek. And I know that when you lived here, you'd grab stuff at Sports Fan every now and then for your silly Lakers fanship, whether it was a something Kobe related, or they carry some Jayhawk stuff for me and you, and obviously cover all the teams in the region and so much more. Get cool mini helmets as well. But these limited edition hats are going to be awesome. I can't really keep it on the screen. I guess I could keep it here next to me. We'll see if it stays there for the whole show. Let's see. Yeah, it's with the gold, especially. Let's see. Well, you think it'll stay? Guess we'll find out. All right, maybe it stays the whole show. So shout out to Sports Fan for hopping on and giving us this hat, and it's going to be cool. A great holiday gift if you can get this or some of the other stuff there. All right. Let's do this. Let's look backwards before we go forward. Obviously, we jumped in, did our behind enemy lines first. Not always the way we're going to start a show unless we are sitting next to a player. That's a different thing, like with Bond. But we like to switch it up on you. But it's funny because I've seen people point out on power rankings, the Broncos win 24-17. I want to get your thoughts on the game. But one of the power rankings like, oh, Broncos just barely get by the Raiders, or play a close game with the Raiders. Look, obviously I was there. That was anything but a close game. I don't care what the score said. The Broncos, there was never any fear they were going to lose that game. But what do you think as you saw the game and then have broken it down since?
Yeah. Well, I mean, it's a rivalry game, and anytime you play in division games, anything can happen. And they're usually all one score, tight games in rivalry games. So I wasn't surprised by the score. Broncos did what they needed to do, and I never thought or felt that they that the Raiders had a chance to beat them either. But one thing I do want to see us improve on our run game, get that more consistent. Bo, I thought him throwing 38 times, 30, I think he was 31 for 38. He had a solid game. He did what he's supposed to do. Mims coming back. He always turns it up at the end, right? Bring his return in ability. I seen him at the OU game. We were laughing because I was like, Mims, you always break, but you never get in the end zone, man. You got to get in the end zone. He got in there. So being able to get him back healthy is huge for the offense. So I just need the offense, the running game to get rolling a little bit better as we go into the playoffs.
Well, and you have to think that RJ Harvey's comfort level just grows every week. You remember it was like when you were a rookie, and you've been around so many rookies, especially ones that were thrust into more action than they maybe were expected to. And I don't say, look, you take a guy in the second round on especially that position where we know running back, it's often said, and I guess you could disagree with this, is the easiest position to play, at least the running back part of it. The stuff out of the backfield and certainly pass protection is a different deal. But doing what you've done your whole life, and I get he was a quarterback, but he had the ball in his hand plenty. Do you agree with that? And then have you seen growth, like an accelerated growth after the Dobbins injury?
I mean, he's still, still trying to find his way in the league. He's still trying to understand the holes and how to manipulate the linebackers. He's been better out of the backfield in routes, but I think he's still averaging like 4 yards, 3 to 4 yards per carry. So we got to get that up. It was a lot more when Dobbins was there. So we can definitely feel missing him. But as you know, B, it's a long season for a running back, especially for a rookie. And we have leaned on him throughout the season. So hopefully he can be able to push through, finish strong, and hopefully, we're going to probably have to use him with McLaughlin. Start using those guys a little bit more as the season ends.
Yeah, I'm there with you. I'd like to see a little more of 38 only because of his unique skill set. He's not the fastest guy in the world. I get that, but he's still there's an elusiveness. The one thing with Harvey though, and I didn't chart every run. It does feel like he was sticking to the script a little bit more. That it wasn't just a look to bounce things out. What I really like to see is one, if they're going to let him throw it, because again, this is a guy that threw 43 touchdowns in high school, his senior year, and went to Virginia to be a quarterback. Don't run it out of shotgun. And don't run it when you haven't run, toss, sweep at all.
Don't do the Browns.
Yeah, run it under Run it under center. Run sweep a couple times to set it up for then the throw, because I don't think anyone was fooled, including those Chiefs defenders. And so it's clearly an emphasis on the run game. But going back to the Raiders game before we move on, although we're going to get into the film room, what I had said going into it, and I think that they accomplished this, and you brought up Bo's numbers, is we had seen him play 2 games pretty well, like 2 good games in a row. And so I didn't care what the final score was, like 10-9 is not going to excite anyone. You just wanted to see him have another good game. And I think he did. I get he didn't light the world on fire, but he didn't do anything to hurt you. He wasn't taking too many shots. You're like, oh, it's off the mark, whatever it may be. You just kind of took what the defense gave you. And the Raiders are going to play you tough. Max Crosby fighting through whatever injury, he's going to be in your face. And so I think they did exactly what they needed to do. The score notwithstanding, or the margin or whatever, the BS kind of towards the end, they took care of business. And Bo now has 3 weeks of momentum. I asked Sean Payton about it. He just said he needs to continue to play more football. But Bo said, yeah, things are kind of coming together, if you will. He wasn't going to say that he was uncomfortable before, but that he's finding a bit of a rhythm. And as we know, especially this time of year, it really does all start with the run game. But did you see that from Bo? And did you think that was as important as I did? Just a consistency with the offense, even if it wasn't high flying 35 points or whatever.
Yeah, I mean, much improvement on third down. He did good with his legs, did good finding guys in those holes. Like you said, taking the shots when he needed to. But ultimately, it's just being able to move the chains, being able to keep the offense on the field. Bo was able to do that as a commander back there. And, and that's what it's going to take, being able to stay on the field, being able to give your defense some rest. And as long as Bo can do that this week, with a pretty tight defense with the Packers, he's going to have to make some plays with his legs, way more than what he did last week. But, with the offensive line that we have protecting him, I think he is getting comfortable, even more comfortable. And it takes time, man. I wouldn't say a quarterback is truly fully comfortable until like year 3 or 4, where he can really see everything is just purely slowed down, and he can see everything very easy. So it takes time, but as we can see, Bo has definitely accelerated his time, his growth in the NFL, and he's moving at a rapid pace. Being able to bring his team to the playoffs his first 2 years. Win the division his second year, he's way ahead of schedule.
Yeah, now we should point out that hasn't officially happened. We expect it to happen. They're 99.9% to make the playoffs, and I think 93% to win the division. And also, what I think we're going to see here in the next couple of weeks, we don't know if they're going to win on Sunday. In fact, they're underdogs, and we'll get to that. Then you play a good Jags team that's leading their division now. Don't know if they'll hold on there, but clearly, even without Travis Hunter, I know he wasn't going to be the focal point, but was going to be a big part of what they did. To see what they've done in year 1 with Liam Cohen is impressive. And then you'll go to the Chiefs. They may totally be out of it, but they're still going to play you hard on Christmas night. And then that Chargers game still might mean something one way or the other, whether it's for top seed or the division, depending on how the next couple of weeks go. The Broncos will not only be battle tested based on playing these close games, they're not going to play for top-notch teams. I don't care what the Chiefs' record is. They've got maybe the best talented quarterback we've ever seen and a really good football team that's gone to 5 of the last 6 Super Bowls. So I guess how much are you looking forward to kind of when we talk about those style points, potentially silencing the critics if they win 3 of 4 or run the table and are, at that point on what would that be, a 14-game winning streak heading into the playoffs, and they'll get to bye at home, which means you only got to win 2 home games to get to the Super Bowl.
Right. I mean, they're streaking right now, and I still don't believe everybody's scared of them or gives them credit, right? I think they do give the defense credit, but by Bo Nix, they feel like teams don't really fear the Broncos. And so that's kind of what it is right now. So this is a statement game for them to win versus the Packers, a team that does have a little bit more respect around the league. If they can knock off this team, I think guys around the league and, commentators, sports analysts will give the Broncos more credit. And because they feel like the Broncos played backups. They play guys when they played them have been injured. They haven't really seen a really true potent offense or MVP type quarterback, right? But the Broncos have beat the 2 teams that were in the championship last year. So you can't give them credit with that. They have won some big games this season, but this one will kind of shut up the critics type game. So if I'm them, I'm very focused this week, and making sure we go out there and send a message leading into the playoffs.
Well, and you talked about them streaking, so let's jump to a little bit of sound from the week, video and sound, because this actually comes from Sunday, where obviously that run you had Peyton's first year was really remarkable. I think y'all won 11 in a row after starting 0-3. And then I think you might have won 10 in a row going in 2015 as well. You had a good little run with Tebow, but they weren't consecutive. You played a lot of football. Streaks are hard in general, whether it be in high school, college, or certainly the pros. So you can't scoff at a 10-game win streak ever. And the fact that both the Broncos and Patriots in this weird year, like BMAC mentioned, are able to reel off 10 in a row and counting. And we'll see, obviously, what the Pats do with the Bills this week. I just don't think it can be overlooked, even if, like we said, it wasn't against all playoff teams. It's fine. It's not the way it's going to work in the NFL. But here's JFM, who's played a lot of football. Obviously started with the Rams, a couple years with the Jets, now a couple of years here. So I asked John Franklin-Myers Sunday about, you can hear the question, but about 10 straight wins.
John, you played a lot of football. How special is a 10-game win streak?
I mean, I ain't never seen. I've been on a 10-game losing streak before. Been on one of them.
Yeah, we know that.
Been on one of them. Few of them.
Yeah.
Nah, but 10-game win streak, man, it's a blessing, and I mean, it's a credit to how hard guys work. It's a credit to the way guys care about each other, and man, you look next to each other, and we realize that we don't want to fail our brothers, and we don't want to fail ourselves, and I think that's kind of what breeds this.
Do you know what he was referencing there? So John Franklin-Myers, he's a Texas boy, which you are obviously honorary, and you lived in Texas a long time. I grew up there. I don't necessarily claim it the way I once did, perhaps, but he's from Greenville. Did you know about his high school record?
Nah.
When he was in high school at Greenville, before he went and he played at Stephen F. Austin, so understandably, you're not going to maybe get the best looks.
Where is Greenville? That got to be.
Greenville. It's a little south of Dallas. I think it's between Dallas and Waco, if I'm not mistaken, south and east. But we can double check. But it's extended metroplex. His high school record. What was your high school record at Bixby?
My junior year, we went 12. We lost 2 games every year, at least 2, 1 or 2 games.
Yeah, and I played in the biggest. In Class 5A in Dallas at JJ Pierce, put out a bunch of pros. We weren't top of the heap by any means because of those Plano schools and Lake Highlands, which has put a bunch of dudes in the NFL. But we were, I think, 4-6 and 5-5. John Franklin-Myers, his 4 years of high school, no surprise that he played as a freshman, as big as that dude is. 0-10 his freshman year. Guess what his record was his sophomore year?
Bad.
0-10. Guess what his record was his junior year?
Let's give him 1 game.
That would be too many. 0-10. And as a senior at Greenville High School, where they added a game, guess what his record was his senior year?
Let's give him 1.
Nope, that's too many. 1 extra game to play. He was 0-40 or 41, because I don't know if he played in every game. Did not win a game in high school.
And then he went to the Jets.
And then he goes to Stephen F. Austin. It wasn't at Stephen F. Austin's like they're dominating. I mean, I don't know what his college records were, but could you imagine that every Friday night? Because you know how special that is. This dude, he knows about losing streaks, so a 10-game win streak to him is going to mean, I think, more than it will to most. Going back to it, though, how significant is that, though, to reel off 10 in a row, especially in the NFL?
It's extremely hard. You have to really know how to win those close games, really be consistent at a large group of positions. Your quarterback has to be playing well, and a lot goes into it. You got to win some tough games on the road. Avoid those kind of upset games, losing the teams that you don't expect to lose to at all, and it's hard to do. So this would be a huge game to keep that rolling. And you do want to have those confidence. You do want to have that confidence that you can win those tough games. You can reel in a row, because guess what you got to do in the playoffs? Majority of the time, you got to go streaking to win a Super Bowl, right? So it's showing that they're capable of being able to catch fire, especially at the right time. And it's very hard to do. It's very hard to do, especially in the NFL.
And, Bo was asked about it as well. And he's like, I don't think I've been a part of too many 10-game win streaks. He's like, oh, well, maybe my junior year. And I don't know if you meant junior year of high school or junior year at Oregon. I didn't track the Ducks record. But I'm guessing he meant high school.
Yeah.
Nonetheless, Bo did give us the soundbite of the week. And maybe one of the bigger laughs he's gotten. He's not Peyton Manning level of funny, and no one expects him to be. But there is a sarcasm or a wit there. Every now and then he'll try something, and he goes back to he does have that Russell Wilson coach speak robot mode, but I think sort of like Bill Belichick, he knows he's kind of playing that character on the box because there's a little humor there. And you've seen him on some podcasts with those dudes where he lists top 5 this, top 5 that. But this is Bo when asked about the Broncos at last check, and we can double check again. We're 2.5-point underdogs at home despite the 10-game win streak. And so here's Mike Kliss asking Bo about that.
Bo, a lot of buzz about you guys being underdogs. Do you use that as a battle cry motivation? You tune it out? And do you think that's a sign that you're not getting enough respect yet?
I don't really care. My mom thinks we'll win, so that's all that matters.
All right. His mom thinks they'll win. Is that good enough? I guess, but let me ask the question, though. How often would a coach tell you, they'll tell you nobody believes in us? And obviously there's some controversy around Pete Carroll and the Raiders kicking that field goal because it affected the line. There's plenty of coaches, and I got to think Sean Payton's at the top of the list, that are aware of the point spread, or are you favorites or underdogs? And I'm sure some coaches bring it up and say, look, nobody believes in us. We're underdogs in this game. Maybe they don't get into the number because you don't want guys betting on it or whatever. But how often would you have a coach that brought up, hey, we're like, nobody really thinks we're winning, nobody's picking us, we're underdogs, versus just saying it to get you motivated? Because clearly it's true this time, as my Super Bowl 50 hat falls by the wayside here. We'll do this. But how often did you have a coach actually say that? Because Bo clearly was aware of it.
Yeah, especially I think I definitely remember us being an underdog. We played the Packers when Super Bowl year, right? When they came to Denver.
Yeah, Aaron Rodgers.
We knew about us. We knew we were
that jersey.
Yeah, we knew we were underdogs when Aaron Rodgers pulled up. So that definitely made us want to make sure he didn't throw over 100 yards. So when the coaches bring that out and try to give you that extra motivation and get teams, wired and ready for the game, you need some things like that. I'm pretty sure if I'm Coach Payton, I got it right there on the wall. We're the underdogs. We're not picked to win, and we're at home. So I'm using that as extra motivation this week to get my team going.
That same season, actually, believe it or not, and I need to just check it, but it popped into my head. The Patriots on Sunday Night Football came to town, an overtime game in the snow. CJ Anderson, obviously, with the game winner. Brandon McManus missed a field goal so wide that I caught it on the other side of the play clock, kind of by the tunnel where y'all run in at, because I was down there for Westwood 1. It was a little windy that night, but y'all were 2.5 to 3-point underdogs that week too. So twice when you got Hall of Fame quarterbacks coming in, and they were going against Brock Osweiler, certainly in that Pats game, but I think maybe in the Packers one as well. It's still weird to see. And when you are rolling, it's nice when someone will give you motivation without you having to manufacture it the way Michael Jordan made everything personal.
Right. Yeah. I mean, that you gotta, and that goes down to the leaders and to the captains on the defense or in the offense. I'm pretty sure Pat is not going to be relaxed. He wants to win. All those guys are pretty hungry, so they got a pretty good group that are going to be able to keep guys focused. Good coaches with VJ and Coach Payton is going to always keep that intensity high and the details high. And when you have a good coaching staff like that and good leaders like they have there in Denver right now, you see why they're streaking.
All right, before we go into the film room, one more piece of video I want to throw your way, a piece of sound. And this is a shortened version of the answer. But the question I asked Cortland on Wednesday, it was on Wednesday, was he's obviously such a big part of what you're doing on special teams. Do you want to see more of Marvin Mims on offense? And I guess I did ask, and how big was that return? And here was Court talking about number 19.
It's not too many people who will, be willing to go back there and, sit in in the face of a fire and, calmly assess the situation and go make a play. And, that play was so crazy because I'm sitting there. Obviously, we're waiting to go out in the field, and you see him kind of scrunched down, and you're like, please don't hit him. Don't hit him. And then boom, he just pops out of nowhere. And Marv has this real deceivingly fast speed where it's from a distance, you'd be like, he's not running that fast. And then if you are on the field with him, you're like, he's covering ground. For not so much of a tall guy, he covers a lot of ground with his stride.
What do you think about Mims finally finding the end zone? You obviously touched on it earlier. And do you want to see more of him on offense, especially because, we'll get to the injury report in a little bit, but Pat Bryant with the hamstring might mean a few more offensive snaps for Mims this week, and maybe they're going to get creative with them just to try to fool the Packers.
Well, I mean, Pat Bryant shouldn't matter if Mims gets the ball anyways. He should always be in the game plan. When you have an explosive guy that can do everything, put him in the backfield, put him in at receiver, special teams. You need his game-changing plays, especially down in crunch time. Broncos have been up and down all season and getting those big plays and hitting on those big plays. And Mims has usually been one of those guys that can make them. So he's very crucial to what's going on with the offense going forward.
All right, so let's do the one thing we do every week that I know people look forward to, and certainly when we feature some of these plays, that gets plenty of attention. Let's hop into Chris Harris Jr.'s film room.
Let's get it. All right, sir. We got some good plays.
Let's start with we'll mix in bad and good. This is obviously bad.
Yes, sir. It looks like we're in cover 4 up top. That's what it looks like we're playing. The Raiders do a good job of running scissors. That's hard. The nickel has to be able to go deep to short underneath. If you watch J-Mac, he's going deep to short. And then you can either pass this with the safety, or you can play it like they played it. Him or Pat and Hufanga didn't have the proper communication. They locked it, and Pat took the post. Hufanga took the corner route. So when that happens, those are plays that you got to be ready for, especially dealing with cover 4. We used to pass that off. I would take the corner route. TJ or Stu or any of the safeties to take the post. So you got to have communication for it and be able to talk that through before it happens.
Yeah, I think we understand the concept, but talk us through. You talked about the sail or scissors, but yeah, J-Mac, it's kind of, they were both in no man's land, but that does feel like that's Hufanga over the top, right? Because J-Mac is down low and just needs to stay. Was that Genty that ends up out there? I think. Yeah, once Genty's out there, that you got the flat.
Yeah, as the nickel, you got to make it deep to short, right? This play is between the corner and the safety. The Pat ends up taking deep. He's taking the post, so the safety has to be low and be able to fall underneath that corner route. He does need Alex to push with him just a little bit, but if you don't pass this off between the corners, this is a play that the safety is going to have to make every time.
Now, I think you'd agree with me, and we'll see where it ends up. but Hufanga is almost certainly going to be a Pro Bowler and perhaps an All-Pro. But if he had a bit of a shortcoming, it's that there, at least that we've seen this season, he can get a little kind of crossed up in coverage here and there, right? We saw him get beat, obviously, on the long touchdown pass going all the way back to the Giants game. And there's been a few other times, and we know at times he's looking to make a big hit, and that's a separate conversation, obviously. But
yeah,
what do you think that is? Is that just there's such an aggressiveness that sometimes is it kind of the details getting overlooked? I don't want to, I'm not picking on a guy that's going to be an All-Pro, but what do you think causes their best offensive weapon right now? We know Genty may get there someday to sneak free there for that touchdown.
We right there is called a scheme. They just schemed us up, right? They ran the perfect play versus perfect coverage. Like I said, you got to be able to communicate through that with Pat, be able to pass those things off. It's not really athleticism right there. It's more about scheme. So he's a very smart player. I'm pretty sure he won't let it happen to him again. But, Hufanga, you are going to make mistakes, especially going against Kelsey, going against the type of tight ends you're going against, Bowers. They are going to make some plays. So it can happen, but, he's been pretty solid all season. And but that's a play right there. You expect Pat and him, very experienced guys, they will be able to talk through that.
I guess I haven't asked you this, but as we look at the next play, as your career advanced, how much were you on the field in punt return situations having to deal with gunners?
After my first 2 years, I was pretty much done with like punt return.
Okay, but let's look at this right here, because it was perhaps the biggest play of the day, and we've talked about it and heard Court talking about Mims, and I thought he was down too, or was going down.
Yeah, but he's just so explosive. He can be able to get out because he kind of, he can kind of run like a running back / receiver. He has that type of ability.
Yeah, how rare is that? And I guess the guy you had that was the closest to him in terms of this level of ability had to be Trendon Holiday, who's maybe the fastest player you ever played with.
Oh yeah, but they were totally different type of body types. Trendon was like 150. Mims is a pretty stocky guy, so his return abilities has been a game changer. I think he's been, now doing this, he's possibly going to be Pro Bowl again as a returner. Is it 3 years in a row?
3 years in a row, right out of the gate. Right. Rookie year last year, he was first team All-Pro, I think, as a rookie, and second team last year, or vice versa. It's pretty remarkable, and also remarkable that's the first time he's actually found the end zone on a return.
Right, like I told him, man, you always get some good yardage, bro. You just got to get in the end zone, and that was hell of block by 34 right there. The whole team executed it. They believe if Mims is back there, they got a chance to score, and they're gonna need this type of field position. We're gonna need easy, startups for the offense, and that's gonna help out Bo and the offense be able to put up more points.
Yeah, and when you get into the playoffs, because he's such a weapon, teams may try to avoid him, and we know, especially when you talk about bad weather, whether they're playing here or other places, and I don't even know if any dome teams will be able to host, really. Maybe the Texans, but the Broncos have a better record than them. So point being, I guess maybe the Colts too, but we're not going to worry about that. It becomes avoiding him becomes as much of a weapon. He's not the Devin Hester level yet, but we remember when teams would pay if they actually kicked it to Hester, and Mims now is certainly, I think, firmly in that category at the top of the list in the league.
Especially backed up, I would just try to rugby it out. Try to kick it away from him if you can, because if he's lining up close to that 50 and you're in your end zone punting, he has a high chance of bringing it back.
Yeah, even with pretty good coverage in terms of bodies being around him, he finds the hole. And that's something that's innate. I remember talking to Dante Hall about it years ago. And great returners really do see the field, I think differently. All right, let's look at two more defensive plays, both more good plays from the team's best defensive back. This is PS2 getting flagged. Do you like this call? I didn't.
I don't really like it, but I understand why they would call that, because they just seen his arms inside his chest right there. But it's a bad throw, good defense. he kind of gets some ticky-tack PI sometimes, you know. They kind of give him some, but technique-wise, I would say that's pretty solid. It's pretty ticky-tack call. I think coach might have been, or the ref might have been trying to help the Raiders right there.
Speaking of technique, they're picking on our guy Kobe Bryant last night on Thursday Night Football. But did you see where he was when Mike Evans high points him and he's got his hand basically on the ball? He's giving up 5 inches. But it's always interesting to see great technique, and you still see I mean, in this case, a Hall of Fame player make a play.
Man, it happens, man, and that's part of being a corner. You got to have a fast memory, especially in the NFL. There's going to be dogs every week that you got to see, and you just got to go out there and play your game, man. If they catch it, come back out there and line up again. And Pat, you know, Riley, they have that mentality. All of them, J-Mac, KAD, you know, so all of them. So I love the secondary and what we have going into the playoffs. Defense and line is playing well. Running, we gotta still tighten up a little bit on the run defense. We're close. We're close to being that where we need to be, but you know, it's hard to complain about our defense the way they played all season.
All right, and one more play, also final play before we leave the film room. Another look at PS2, and in this case, just another silly flag. It feels like, but you tell me.
Let me see from the backside angle. Yeah, he got there a little early, right? And there you kind of gotta move inside with them and kind of just ride him his shoulder. And I think he knew it was coming. He kind of knew the slant was coming, and he was just over aggressive. And that's what you get when you have a fast motion, jet motion like that, and you're the only receiver. The Chargers used to run the pivot with Keenan Allen or Antonio Gates. They would act like he's running the slant and then go back out. But the Raiders, they would always run that slant. So they're still running it still to this day. Chip Kelly staple. And I think PS2 just knew it was coming, and he just got there too early.
All right, well, hopefully we've got plenty of great plays to break down and not too many penalties. That was one other thing about that Thursday night game was 19 penalties, and Falcons still found a way to win. That was a really bad loss, obviously.
I like the all black, though, man. He was clean out there. I like the all black.
Yeah, no doubt. No doubt about that. All right, that was our weekly trip inside Chris Harris Jr.'s film room. All right, we've got just a few more things to do before we get out of here. Let's start to dive into the Packers a little bit and what they do well. Obviously, we talked to BMAC earlier. And in fact, we've seen 2 days in a row, no Josh Jacobs. He had 20 carries last week, 17 the week before. He's just fighting through a knee thing. Matt LaFleur, who meets the media before practice, and they obviously just hit the practice field 10 minutes ago, said he's going to be day-to-day, but he will practice in a limited capacity. He will be out there, so he's out there right now as they're practicing outside in Lambeau. I don't know what the weather is, but it's not as nice as here. We're in the 60s for the third straight day, and we got about 5 days more of it.
They got to be outside. I feel bad for you.
Yeah, no kidding. Especially if he's got to kick the ball on Friday, so he really does have to get in the hot tub. But I asked VJ, what does their offense look like with Josh Jacobs and without? Vance, how different is their offense with Josh Jacobs and without him?
I mean, he's a top-notch runner, you know. So if he's out there, obviously, you know, to stop the run game and keep the explosive passes from hurting you, that's the challenge, you know. And he's a top 10 runner, you know. So if you're in too much soft coverage, and he can burn the clock on you, you know, and gain yards. And if you're too much single high, you know, he comes to big deep balls. So that's the challenge of kind of, you know, weighing, and it's the cat and mouse game between how much coverage you play, how much, you know, loaded boxes you play for the run game. So he is a special player, and it's a perfect storm with those receivers, the quarterback and the runner.
Okay, so let's look at that. So we know what Josh Jacobs is, but how about this? The Broncos still outrush them in terms of rushing yards per game. Not by a lot, but, you know, when you look at the rankings, 4 yards better. The Broncos are 4 yards better on the ground. That's 5 spots better. Broncos are 14th, and the Packers are 19th. But there's nobody to be like, oh, I'm scared, especially without JK, of the Broncos rushing attack with RJ Harvey versus the Packers with Josh Jacobs.
I mean, he's a bell cow. He's going to carry the load. He runs hard. He's perfect for the playoffs. He's perfect for this time of the year to be able to carry the load, and he has been taking a banging all season. And if they're smart, they would just probably rest him. But I highly doubt Jacobs misses this game. I think it's too big of a game. I think they're game ahead in their division. They need a win to stay ahead of Chicago. So I think he definitely plays. But when you see Jacobs, our defense has to be able to tackle very well. He's going to run hard and gang tackle this guy, man. He's had a lot of success going against Denver, right? He always has big games. So we got to be able to make sure we can contain this guy and don't let him come down and have a big party.
Yeah, you talk about their schedule. They have the Bears next Saturday. They're one of the couple Saturday games. Then they host, that's in Chicago too. Then they host the Ravens, and we know the Ravens are fighting for their playoff lives. That's not going to be easy. And they go to the Vikings, who are certainly schizophrenic, but last game of the year, Vikings obviously out of it. They're trying to build though with JJ McCarthy, and we saw what they did to Vaughn and the Commanders at 31-0 shutout. So no easy games for the Packers here. And if they can come steal one on the road, even if they are the favorites, it'd still be a steal. That'd say something. I know we're going to have some the rest of the numbers up, but you heard Vance talk about the perfect storm. Oh, there we go. The perfect storm. When you look at these, he's like with the receivers and Jacobs, they don't have a number one. They've got Golden, but he's been banged up. Do you look at Watson or Dobbs? Is sometimes that better for the defense or more challenging because you don't know who their go-to guy is, and Love's so good at finding the right guy?
Yeah, I mean, you got to have a number one guy, a guy that very comfortable with and makes you very secure as a quarterback. I think that was their tight end. I always forget his name. Before he got hurt. So they're missing that aspect, but they have a lot of receivers, guys that can get the job done, fast, athletic guys. Watson can take the top off, so we do have to be aware of his speed. But they're all good. There's nobody that just is a great receiver that pops out, but they're all solid, good receivers that can beat you. So you got to definitely bring your A game. You can't take them lightly.
Yeah, and then when you look at those numbers, as we always talk about, green is good, red's bad, and obviously if it's blue, as the Broncos put it up on, this is from the Broncos pregame notes packet, it's middle of the pack. So the Broncos have continued to get higher up in the blue and even into the green in some spots. But when you look at the thing that jumps out the most to me, your strength versus strength, is look at the Packers, who are the very best team in the league on third down and staying on the field and moving the sticks. And then they're second in terms of punching it in. And the Broncos are best in the league. We know not only in sacks, but on third down and certainly in the red zone. So that's going to be the bend but don't break to see who wins that strength on strength. How do you like that matchup?
Yeah, you're right. Third down is going to be crucial. And I think it starts with the run game. If we're able to stop them run, able to keep them guys in third and longs, make Love throw from, not third and fours and fives that Jacobs usually gives them. Then we're able to try to minimize this and flip that stat. So it's going to be crucial. Third down is going to be crucial. Like you said, they're first and third down, second in the red zone. Broncos are first red zone and third down, and toppling that with the sacks. So that's going to be a big difference, a big emphasis in the game. And it's the Broncos, in order to win that, they got to be able to stop the run and not let them get ahead of the sticks on third down.
And so on third down, we know, as I referenced earlier, talking with BMAC about having that closer, Nick Bonito and Micah Parsons both tied at 12.5 sacks. We can spend a full show on whether or not that trade should have been made, but he is now a Green Bay Packer, has his new deal. How do you keep Micah Parsons from being that game wrecker that you had for so many years with Vaughn, that Nick Bonito has been certainly at times, because we saw him, seal that game early in the year against Arizona. At times, though, he's been taken out. And I even asked Bo, how do you know where he is without overemphasizing? So what's your key, you think, to slowing Parsons down, who's on the spot and moves around?
Well, you just got to try to treat him like Crosby. You see tough rushes all year long. Most teams have a guy that you're kind of game planning for, but right now we have very Consistent offensive line right now, doing a great job being able to keep Bo upright all season. And you just stick to your keys. You know, he's going to be a problem. You got to know where he's at. But it's about playing our game, executing our offense, and doing our job. So he's a game wrecker. You got to treat him like Cosby. And that's a good thing, is that you've had to see a Chris Jones. You've had to see some all-pro guys that can get you ready for Micah Parsons.
Okay, let's see. We touched on Jacobs. Before we get to our predictions, let's see where things stand health-wise. As we do every week, we will take a look at the injury report. All right, your latest Bell and Pollock injury report. Broncos trending up again. DJ Jones, full participant. They give him that extra week to rest. Big man on the ankle. You're going to need him to slow down whatever comes their way in terms of rushing the ball. Nate Atkins back on the field, still limited. Ben Powers, they opened his window. And so I guess one quick thought there, whether or not he plays this week or next, do you automatically just put Powers back in because he's been your starter, even though Palcho's played pretty darn well?
Yeah, they pay Powers a lot of money, so I definitely see him going back in. Understand it's a business still. He was a starter before he got injured, and he's been starting since he's gotten in the NFL. So they feel very comfortable with him, and they probably want their whole offensive line, especially if they paid for him. So I'd see him definitely playing if he's healthy.
And I mentioned Pat Bryant 2 days in a row didn't practice. He got to think with the hamstring, they're going to err on the side of caution. I think Pat Bryant's obviously emerged as a bigger contributor than he was earlier in the year. And that when you take a guy in the third round, that's what you want to see. But I don't expect that we'll see Pat Bryant. I guess it'll be a pleasant surprise if he does go. But with the hamstring, you want to take your time like they just did with obviously Jonah Ellis, who now is back to full strength and played last week. Packers have 15 guys on the injury report. Jordan Love's non-throwing shoulder, so his left shoulder, something to at least be aware of, but he's a full participant, lots of limited dudes. And then, as we mentioned, Josh Jacobs. So we expect him to go. I know this, so things happen that are unexpected. So when they do, you're going to have to deal with them, whether it's an injury, an accident, whatever it may be. Nobody that I trust more than our friends at Bell and Pollock. They're champions of the people. They will fight for you. They will come up with a winning game plan. So give them a call today, 303-795-5900, or very simply, championsofthepeople.com. So, Chris, every week, David and I will talk and you'll throw your thoughts in there too. But what game should we look at? And I opened up the slate of games and it's like every game is compelling because of either record or who's playing in it or all of the above. How does it relate to the Broncos? So we've got a bunch of games to get to and I'll pull up the lines too as well. But this game certainly matters for the Bears. We've heard the announcement Shedeur is going to be the starter the rest of the year. You obviously talked to Shelby on Tuesday, as you do every week on We're the Harrises. It's predicted to be cold and gross there in Chicago there at Soldier Field. I know the Bears are favored. Again, do we see any world where Shedeur builds on what he did last week against the Titans in a loss against this solid Bears team who's, I think, exceeded expectations at this point?
No, I would not. I'm gonna have to go with the Bears. I think the Bears are playing good football. Caleb Williams is much improved. Ben Johnson is much improved. So I'll have to go with the Bears this game. I just don't see the Browns. They find a way to beat themselves every week. Whether the defense doesn't show up, offense might not show up, special teams just gives the ball away. They just find that they do a good job of beating themselves every week.
All right, let's jump to the next game. By the way, the Bears were 7-point favorites. I think I'd like to think they cover, but crappy weather, good defense. Maybe they win by a field goal and it's a low scoring, closer game because we know Caleb can be inconsistent. So I guess in that one, I like the Bears to win, but not to cover. This one, obviously huge implications. Bengals, I guess, are out of it for the division now. I don't know if I don't know if they'd have enough tiebreakers. Can they win the division at 8-9? Maybe. It starts here with beating the Ravens. We mentioned the Ravens are playing the Packers. We saw them beat the Ravens just a couple weeks ago on Thanksgiving. And then we heard Joe Burrow on his birthday this week saying, this isn't fun. I want it to be fun again. How do you see this one playing out where the line on it Bengals are 2.5-point home dogs, as you kind of understand.
I'm gonna go with the Bengals. I think their offense is, with Joe Burrow coming back, they're playing much better. The Ravens, I kind of think the Ravens got gypped last week. I think the Isaiah Likely was a touchdown. Definitely got screwed over, but versus Steelers, but it'll be Joe Burrow dicing those guys up. Their defense is I still don't believe in the Ravens defense, and I think Joe just plays good in December.
Yeah, I'm with you, and I like the Bengals to win. The Ravens, there's something going on there. One of the names that's thrown out for the Michigan job is, could John Harbaugh go to Michigan? I don't think he wants to do that, and he just signed an extension last year. Doesn't mean the Ravens are going to move on just because they have one down year, but they're not going to the playoffs. And I know Lamar was banged up in the middle. I'm with you though. I like the Bengals at home, and I think a Bengals win over the Ravens again probably helps Zach Taylor's job security. I don't know where his job security is, but you stack up a couple more wins. We've seen what it's done for Mike McDaniel. All right, we're on the same page there with the Bengals, especially as home dogs. So Chiefs fighting for their playoff lives, hosting the Chargers. When you look at that one in Arrowhead, obviously, where the Chiefs I know are slight favorites. I thought it was like 2, maybe. Oh, it's 4.5. I'm sorry. Chiefs are 4.5-point favorites. Chargers with that eke out that win against the Eagles on Monday night in LA. And the Chargers have gone to Kansas City and won in recent years. But how do you see that one playing out at Arrowhead where the Chiefs have to win?
I'm gonna go with the Chargers. Going in the Chiefs. They're playing very solid football. Their offense, Herbert, he had that, I think, what was his hand issue?
Yeah, left hand, where I think he might have had
he's been able to fight through it, and he's played very well in Arrowhead, and he's gone there and won. So I'm gonna say the Chiefs are done; their season's over with, and the Chargers are gonna be able to go 10-4, second in division, and be able to try to take that wild card spot.
Yeah, I saw an order for the Chiefs to officially be eliminated, even if they win, but the Texans win, the Jaguars win, a couple, like all games that you expect to go a certain way. Maybe the Bills beat the Patriots, that they're done, even if they were to beat the Chargers, because they have too many tiebreakers. Losing to the Texans, I think we both kind of got burned on that pick. We thought that the Chiefs would respond after losing to the Broncos, and the Texans go in and handle business. So I'm going to take the Chiefs just because I think that they're hard to kill. It doesn't mean that they won't officially be killed at some point anyway. So I'm going to take the Chiefs, but won't be surprised at all if the Chargers pull it out. Now, you can't turn the ball over the way the Chargers did on Monday night and win this game, I don't think, on the road. Nonetheless, I'm going KC, you're going Chargers, and that should be a fun one to watch leading into the Broncos game. This is the game I just talked about. Another one. You need to be at a sports bar or have Red Zone or have a bunch of TVs, because these early window games, I want to watch all of them. And so Bills, Patriots, I'm ready to see if the Patriots, I think this is are the Patriots for real? If they win this game, I know they already beat the Bills once in Buffalo, but the 4.5-point dog. So Vegas is kind of thinking, oh, this Bills team is better, and the Patriots are a little bit of smoke and mirrors.
I'm gonna go with the Patriots. They're playing good. Drake May is much better than I thought. Just seeing his poise in the pocket, he's very calm back there. He can make all the throws. He can scramble just a little bit, but he's very decisive in his decision making. So I like the way he's playing. The Variables got the defense playing nice. They play a lot of man, a lot of different coverages. He kind of brought that same system he had in Tennessee, and just pretty much implemented it right there with the Patriots. And those guys are playing well in it. So I trust the Patriots defense over the Bills. So I'm gonna go with the Patriots.
As it's kind of been the theme, I like home dogs, especially good teams. I haven't checked the weather there, but there's a chance it may not be great. I know it's not gonna be super warm there in Foxborough. So I like the Pats to cover, but I'm going to take the Bills to win because they're still fighting. They could sneak up and win the division. And Josh Allen, we know at home how good he's been, but Josh Allen certainly has carried this team. And then you look at the Pats schedule next week. They're at the Ravens. Don't know what the Ravens will be playing for, although they're still kind of mathematically in it, even if they lose again this week, thanks to the Steelers just not running away with it. Then the Pats go to New York, and we know the Jets playing with pride. And then they host the Dolphins. It'll be cold on New Year's weekend.
That's a 50-50 game, though. That game every year, even when Brady was there, you always thought the Dolphins had a chance.
Yeah, absolutely. And the Dolphins have won, what, 5 straight since they fired their GM. So you can't just discount.
Ellie, let's go.
I know Champ may end up just getting a conversation with Stephen Ross like, hey, how about I just take this interim tag off your name? Done. That's the end of the conversation.
I mean, he's been an interim probably like 4 times in the NFL, and he's killed it every time he goes to every time he goes to the intern. Then their team always gets better, and then they just kind of move on from him. Just keep him there. Like, I wish he was still in Denver. He was just always great with finding guys. I mean, he found all of us. He was definitely a guy that was instrumental in being able to find the undrafted dogs up there.
Yeah, Vaughn wants to be a GM, but if Champ gets that job, then he gets to build out the scouting staff. Maybe both of y'all can end up scouting for him, and you get to assistant GM. I know you'd rather be a coach than a GM, but your hours are a little better as a GM than on that side. A little bit, not a lot.
Way better.
But certainly better during the season, that's for sure. All right, we got just a couple more games to get to. This one, I mean, obviously it's the Jared Goff Bowl, Matt Stafford Bowl again, and Sean McVay said, now look, there's going to be more Lions fans than there were Rams fans. He's like, but they were so great to Stafford, who I think meant more. He's like, I hope we see that on Sunday against the Lions towards Goff, who took him to the Super Bowl. There aren't enough Rams fans to boo him, so I don't think it's going to be a big deal. But let's just talk about the game, take the nostalgia out of it. Who wins this game where it's close? Vegas has Rams just as a slight favorite at just 1.5 there in LA, where again there will be lots of Lions fans.
I'm gonna go with the Rams. Stafford balling. They just got a better defense. D-line is crazy. But the Lions do have a game breaker with their running backs, and St. Brown playing solid last week, but they did play the Cowboys, so I'm gonna stop the brakes right there a little bit, and I'm gonna rock with the Rams this week, man. They've been playing good. Stafford is definitely in the MVP conversation, and I don't even know how many touchdowns Devontae Adams has. He's 12 plus, right? He's balling, so I'm gonna go with the Rams.
Yeah, I'm in the fantasy playoffs in a couple leagues. I'm happy that I have Devontae Adams on a couple of those teams because he certainly finds the end zone. Some days he has bigger production than others. Real quick, though, because you mentioned their running game, how special is Jahmyr Gibbs? I remember the Lions kind of getting laughed at when they took that dude 12th, and there's nobody laughing now other than, man, they're just laughing out of like, oh, how did we not get him? Like laughing at themselves. How special is he, and who does he remind you
of? He's kind of like a Jamal Charles from when I played. That speed that can hit it, make plays outside the backfield. That's probably the closest guy I can think of to Charles. His speed is just different. And the way they use him all over the field. So Gibbs is a problem. He's probably, Saquon, Gibbs. He's in that top 5 for sure as top running backs in the NFL, or definitely in the NFC. So I would say Jamal Charles probably be his closest guy.
Jamal Charles with the Chiefs, not your teammate with the Broncos. That was a lesser Jamal Charles that we got here. We're not picking on, but because he had a great career there in KC. Well, so let's do this real fast because again we'll get to a couple more games. But you said top 5, so Christian's in that. I think Derrick Henry, who's a free agent by the way. Would you like to see him in Denver next year, maybe? But Derrick Henry, Saquon, Jahmyr, Christian. Jonathan Taylor. Okay, let's do those 5 games.
Yeah, JT.
Let's say they're going to play all 17 games and be healthy in the season. Right now, at this point of their career, you can have any of those guys next year to be on the Broncos. Okay, you're trading 2 number 1s, whatever, but you're going to get any of those guys, and for a fact they're healthy all year through the playoffs. Which of those 5 do you want on your team, and in this case the Broncos, but on any team as your featured guy?
Actually, shit, I might want Bijan Robinson.
Okay, all right, yeah, he's certainly in that conversation.
Or Christian McCaffrey, because McCaffrey's definitely very reliable. He can catch the ball at the backfield. He's still running very hard, so I would probably go. Yeah, I don't know. That's my preference. Other guys might want Saquon or might want Gibbs, but I would go with Christian and I would go with Bijan Robinson. Those guys would be my guys.
No, Bijan obviously made some huge plays. That surface didn't help on Thursday Night Football. It would be a fun story. I don't know what it would take to get him here, but the Broncos are going to have, because of the moves they made, they've cleared about $40 million in cap space. I think there's other needs they address, and you just drafted Harvey. And we all like the Disney story. Bringing Christian home for the last year or two of his career, and I don't know what he has left. That would be fun to see the way Sean would use him in getting himself a true joker, with apologies to Evan Ingram. All right, just a couple more games. Obviously, Broncos and Packers is coming, but we have Panthers Saints. Speaking of,
you could have skipped this one.
Sean Payton. Well, because look, the Saints pulled the upset last week in a monsoon. There, I think that surprised some people. Tyler Shook is showing that he's got a little more than his critics may have thought, and the Panthers can now create a little separation from the Bucs if they win this game. Do the Saints have any kind of hope at home?
I got the Panthers being able to run the football. The rookie receivers playing much better. The defense is tight, with Jackson and Horn. They got and big boy up front. I keep forgetting his name, man. He's a problem up front. Brown.
Brown?
Brown.
Yeah, he's top 10 pick a couple years ago, hurt.
Yeah,
a few years back.
He's a dog. So I got the Panthers winning this game. Every year, this NFC North or NFC South has always been bad. And, teams are skating through the playoffs, 99 records, and not very good conference. So they're continuing to do what they've done the past 10 years, but I got the Panthers winning this.
Yeah, for as good as Bryce Young's played, or Baker at times, Kirk Cousins looking better, and we know that Saints are a work in progress. This is not Sean Payton and Drew Brees' primetime Saints walking through the door, and I don't know if that's changing anytime soon, but the Panthers may have something to say about it. I'm with you, though. I think the Panthers win. All right, I think there's 2 more. What do we got? 3 more. Okay, good. Colts Seahawks. Phillip Rivers, last you heard, he might play. What do you think about 2 parts of this? Sam Ehlinger, who was with the Colts, they reached out and said, we want you to be our starter. And he said, no, thanks. I'm good being on the Broncos practice squad. Is that appreciation dumb. Or is that like, hey, the Colts are limited, that has also been smoke and mirrors with what they've done?
Well, if I'm on practice squad and I get to be activated for the rest of the year, business wise, you got to go do that. And that's just getting your accrued 4 seasons, your retirement, all that stuff is, I don't know what year he's at. He might already have that. But, if you have a chance to go start in the NFL, you got to go take the opportunity. So I wouldn't tell anybody, to pass up that situation. But I'm going to go with the Seattle. I think
even
it's over for the Colts. It's over for them. It's over. Seattle's defense is tough. Their D-line is the real deal. McDonald is a hell of a defensive coordinator. And they got some dogs all through their secondary. So I'm going with Seattle.
Game opened at 13.5. The Phillip Rivers announcement, no lie. It's up to, or I'm sorry, it opened at 3.5. It's at 13.5 if Phillip Rivers plays.
20. Should be at 20.
So had Riley, and maybe it meant it opened before Daniel Jones tore his Achilles, is my guess. It's 13.5 right now across the board. So, and I guess
Daniel Jones on a 1-year deal.
Yep.
That just crushed it. Because now if you're the Colts, where is what happened to the other quarterback? What happened to him?
He's on IR and
for the whole season.
Yeah, I don't think they ever brought him off, or I think once they put him on, because that's why Riley Leonard's in there, and that's why they're signing Phillip Rivers, because Anthony Richardson has been too banged up.
Red shirt year. He took a red shirt year,
I guess. Yeah, Daniel Jones signed a 1-year, $14 million deal. The Colts will basically be paying him to rehab an Achilles, and so I don't even know.
So would you pay him? Think about it. He's a guy that this is probably one of his best years. And why? Because we've had a solid O-line and a major run game for him. If I'm the coach, you're kind of at square one again. Now you're still looking for another quarterback.
Yeah, because that can't be your plan. And if you say, hey, we're going to give you $10 million to come rehab, and we'll put incentives in. Once you start a game, if we win the division, you get $1 million. We go to the playoff, Super Bowl, whatever. So you can make up to 13, 14 million. But yeah, I think it's crazy because, again, they've got a good roster. They just can't, figure out quarterback, and it's not really their own fault, which is why they're getting a guy that at this point. Did you play? Were you with Rivers? Oh, you were with Herbert, so you weren't even with Rivers.
Nah,
you
I
played
wouldn't
against him
remember.
plenty, obviously. But the fact that at 44, he's coming off the high school practice field where he's been coaching, and he's a Hall of Fame semifinalist. I think if he stays on the practice squad, even if if he doesn't play in the game, that doesn't affect his candidacy. I don't think he's getting in this year anyway. But if he steps on the field, then it resets. So it's 5 years after now, which might be better because then that gets Eli and Big Ben and those dudes out of the way. I don't know. All right, two more. I think we got the Monday night game. Yeah, Dolphins and Steelers. This game got a lot more interesting because of what it means for this Dolphins. Because the Dolphins could get to 10-7, which is crazy to think. But they could get to 10-7 and have something to say about the playoffs, have some tiebreakers. And the Steelers, even with the win over the Ravens, they're not totally clear. The Bengals could still catch them, and certainly the Ravens can.
I got the Steelers winning this. Both coaches are fighting for their jobs, but I think Aaron Rodgers is better than Tua, so I'm gonna go with the better quarterback. Tua he just hasn't made me a believer yet. He's been playing much better as the season's gone on. They are streaking, but I just don't believe him to be able to outduel Aaron Rodgers at this time of the season, especially if he's not playing in Miami.
Yeah, it's in Pittsburgh where they're going to be 3-point favorites. I know Pittsburgh isn't where Chicago is, but I bet if I look now, it's not going to be great weather
right
Monday night, and that's not good for the Dolphins. They'll get them ready for their game at the Patriots. Look, I'm a big Mike McDaniel fan. He's a local kid. Obviously started his career here as an intern with the Broncos, Smoky Hill high grad. I don't want to see him get fired, and I think they don't want to fire him. Stephen Ross, I heard this week said, or it was reported from Albert Breer, that Stephen Ross is hearing, Mike McDaniel's going to be great at his next stop. And Ross likes him. That's why he gave him an extension. They got to the playoffs those first 2 years. He's like, why do I care about where he is at his next stop? Let's just figure it out here. We've already made the one change at the GM. We'll see if they keep Champ. It'd be hard to find somebody who you're going to like more. So, look, I'm pulling for the Dolphins. What's that?
So you think Mike stays after this season?
They might get to 9-8 or 10-7. You're not firing him at 9-8. You can fire him at 7-10, I guess, if it falls off a cliff. But they go in and beat the Steelers. And here, I'll tell you their last 3 games. We know that Patriots game, but here, Dolphins schedule. I know it's always fun to Google on TV or on the internet in this case. So here you go. Dolphins are at the Steelers. Then next week, they host the Bengals. We don't know what you're getting with the Bengals there. Then they host the Bucks. And then they go to the Patriots. So those are tougher games than they could be. They're not playing the Titans. They're not, they're not playing the Browns in this part of the year. And so if the Giants with where they are right now, or the Jets. So they run this table or finish 9-8. If I'm Stephen Ross, I'm saying, okay, now let's get this more worked out. Maybe Mike has more input on the roster with whoever the next GM is. It's more collaborative. He's getting the most out of Tua, whatever that is. They're going to move on. You got to think from Tyreek. But, just for the sake of the story and because I'm not a Steelers believer, I'm going to take the Dolphins. All right, final one, as our longest pick segment ever, but this is how it is this time of year. This is obviously all these games mean something for the most part, other than that Bears-Browns, but it means something for the Bears. Broncos, as we mentioned, and I'm looking at the updated line, 2.5-point dogs here at home. I'm going Broncos. I don't think it's surprising anyone. I think you'll probably end up there too. But I guess tell me, why will the Broncos win?
I think they'll be able to stop the run. I think with a battled up Josh Jacobs, that's going to make a lot more 3rd and longs. Now they can stick the pass rush on Jordan Love and be able to match up pretty solid on the outside with these guys. I think that's going to be the key to the game, being able to shut down the run on the defensive side of the ball. Offensive side, being able to, protect the football. We need to get the run game going. The Packers, if you give them one weak thing on defense, you could say it's probably the run defense. So I would that's the way the Broncos can win this game, protecting the football with Bo Nix, and then the defense being able to shut down their run, make this team that's the number 1 3rd down converting team in the league, convert long 3rd distance. And then that would be a game plan right there to be able to shut down Jordan Love.
Yeah, I'm with you. So I'll give you my score prediction. I got it close. I said on TV this morning, so I'll say it again. 23-20. which goes over the total. Vegas has it at 42.5. I also said 2017 won't surprise me either. 20-19, 21-19, 21-20. But how do you see the final score on the scoreboard as the Broncos pull out a win?
Yeah, both teams are pretty stout defensively and pretty solid in the red zone. So I see it like 18-13, tight game. I think it's going to be small, tight game, non-scoring game, defensive game for sure.
If you're right about that and the Packers only score 13 points, I don't care what the Broncos score, even if it's 14-13. If they hold this Packers team to 13 points, then they're definitely winning the game. Now, the weather's going to be great, as I touched on. BMAC might have a shot to kick a 65-yarder because I know his accuracy hasn't been as dialed in as it was here, but his leg's still super big.
Yeah.
And so maybe he
I won't
hits
be surprised game winning field goal. BMAC,
yeah.
Somebody hits the
Yeah,
game.
I don't know if it's a 65-yarder to win it, but I just think he might take a big one, or Will Lutz might have a shot at a long one. All right, that's going to do it for us. I want to remind you again, Swing by Sports Fan, get one of these exclusive Super Bowl 50 commemorative hats. Sports Fan 4 locations in Denver. We're going to make sure we get you one of those, Chris, to add to your very special hat collection. Thanks to John. Thanks to BMAC, Brandon McManus for stopping by. And, of course, every week, thanks to our great producer, David Levine, for helping us get it done. We'll remind you, Sunday postgame, Chad Brown, who's calling the game on radio, and Kristen Brown, they will have postgame. I'll join them from Empower Field at Mile High. And then, of course, catch Chris with Shelby Harris and Ryan Harris, We're the Harrises, every Tuesday. And we will see you again next Friday on We're the Harrises, rather on our show, Football Fridays.
Yes, sir.